Hey guys, it's Ben from Second Dynasty here, coming at you with another live stream on our Type S Traveler Universe 3D print build. Um, with me on the line, I have, of course, Zoroma.
Oh,
I have John from John Games.
I've been here the whole time.
You have, all like 30 seconds. And also in the background, we have Albin, of course. Wave
What's up?
with wave with your right hand, Albin, so that people can see you. It's like
It's a miracle you can see again.
it's like Dr. Claw. We're trying something different this time. When Albin's going to be talking. Actually, are we showing anything today? Because you're working on some other stuff today. Right?
Yeah, basically I'm working interiors. I'm not sure if it's of interest.
Everything's of interest.
Great.
I'm sure. We'll check in a little bit. But let's see. First of all, we're going to get some links up in the chat, right?
yep, working on it.
So, if you're joining us for the first time, um, my name is Ben. I run a company called Second Dynasty, and for the last 3 years, I have been making 3D printable starships, some of which you can see behind me, um, and of course on the table down here as well. These are pretty epic builds. They're printed on FDM home 3D printers like my Prusa's. Um, and yeah, for the last couple of years, I've been doing these designs for 28mm tabletop play, and I got into this actually because we were playing a Traveller campaign, and I was designing a ship for that Traveller campaign. This was Mongoose Traveller a number of years back, and I saw what Printable Scenery was doing for fantasy, and I'm like, no one's doing sci-fi, so I did some interior deck plans in the OpenLog system to begin with, and that eventually expanded to complete starships. And I've managed to make a living out of it. And I'm very excited with Zoroma's help. We managed to get in touch with Mark Miller. He was quite open to the idea of licensing ships from the Traveller universe, which is why we're currently developing the Type S. So you guys can probably actually see the prototype. Let's switch to the big camera. Let's see. Camera close up. Come on. Oh, I'm trying to use the mouse on the wrong screen here. Here we go. This is the current prototype for the Type S. Not much has happened since last week. So this is like 1 inch is 5 feet or 1.5 meters at scale. So it's about 1:60, approximately 28mm miniatures. We're going to be doing some Traveller miniatures along with this. We already have some great designs from Papsicles and Pickle, and we are yeah, we're going to have a number of cool Traveller themed items in a crowdfunding campaign, which officially will no longer be on Kickstarter. We're going to do it direct on My Manufacturer's platform because they're also our distributor. And I think it's going to be quite successful no matter what. So yeah, the prototype, we've been testing the lighting. Zoroma, you've had your hands on the lighting this week. How are you finding it?
Well, it made some changes to the printouts for the lighting that you mocked up, and got some better fitting for the wiring. I'm working on the tip lights right now so that I can put them in sequence for flashing to each corner. I'm waiting for some more equipment to come in the mail so I can do that to sync everything up. We've got pretty much, I would say, the main part of the rear lighting sections design wise complete. It's just now putting it in some test prints. We did some testing to make sure that we wouldn't have any overheat problems or problems with your basic thermal problems in the plastic. The way the four lights will work in there, they're going to be pretty bright on the drive plates on the back of the motor housing there, engine, and there'll be the lights at the very tip where the corner is on each side, being a green and a red like a regular plane on either tip that will flash in sequence like landing lights would. Not sure what else I'm going to do in the ship for lighting. We might want to add something towards the front or internal cabin lighting, but not sure on that yet. We'll work on that.
Yeah, we'll have a look towards the front of the ship later today. Zorima can only be with us at the start of, well, the first half of the session. We usually just run for about an hour. We talk about what we've been up to, what we're doing, and then we just get into like some of the details of the design. So before we get into what, obviously anyone who's been keeping up with us will notice that I've been detailing the exterior hull today. Well, sorry, not today. This last week. And you notice from the printout that there hasn't really been too much in the way of physical prints in the last week. We've only been Albin has been prototyping some things, partially to get a hang of the sort of ways of printing and such. Can't talk today. Yeah, basically I need to do the exterior hull plating first, and then I'm actually in the process of dividing this up at the moment, and then I'll go in for a third pass and add even more details to the hull, if that makes sense.
Guess what?
Yeah.
I had the doorbell ring, and someone just dropped off all my equipment for the new lighting kits.
Oh,
Awesome.
that was well timed. Well, aside from the phone ringing, but yeah. So we'll get into a closer look at that in a little while. But before we get too far, John, I know you wanted to make a slight update, right?
Oh, I don't know how to unmute, so I can't say anything. All right, I'll try now.
Okay,
I
John,
wanna-
who is making Deck Designer, which is a piece of software we were developing in our last Kickstarter that basically helps you plan out deck plans when you're building our ships, because some of our ships are quite modular and have a number of stretch goals where you can switch out parts to change the configuration of the ship. So yeah, John, you put out a
Yes.
release on the weekend, right? I
Yeah, I
haven't
did, and
updated the second one. I forgot that.
yeah, it's quite all right. I'm working on another one. I'm trying to release it by this Wednesday, the coming Wednesday, with a few more modes, and I'm going to be testing it out with the Sleipnir to see if it works all right. And it's called instruction mode, where it will take you step by step and say, print out these following parts, assemble them in this way, and then it will just go through and let people have their fun that way. The
Awesome.
big the big challenge to me right now is I'm not very fast at developing, so I continue to ask for continued patience, continued, yes, and I keep working on it. I'm gonna keep updating, and that's the best I can do is just keep everyone in the know. I don't know what's the best way to keep people updated, so I'll ask you about that later. Just don't wanted to say it while I had a chance. Thank you.
Yeah, I wish I knew myself the best way to keep people updated. I suppose we should technically probably do an update on the Kickstarter to let people know what's going on, what the delays are, and maybe show off some imagery of the Type S. I know that Albin has been working on a new rendering environment. We wanted to make the switch over from what we call Redshift, which is a GPU rendering engine that we can plug into Maya, over to what they're using natively now, which is Arnold, which has recently got its own GPU rendering techniques. This is where you can take advantage of a really powerful graphics card. I have a 3090. I actually managed to get one. I don't know how. I've had it since the end of last year. And
What is your address again? Just curious. No reason at all.
Yes, there is security here, John. They will not let you in. Anyway, it is substantially faster to render. In fact, Albin's sitting on my 2070, my old one, on that machine. He was doing renders that took 40 minutes?
Yeah.
And it took 8 minutes on the 3090. So it's a significant improvement. But yes, let's see. Okay, so we've talked to John. We've talked to Zorima about the lights. There is some stuff to do with the campaign that I think warrants talking, because we did make a big decision this week, and it might upset a few people. And this will make more sense when we switch over to Albin not doing the Beowulf. But the long and short of it is that we feel within the time limit that we have, we can't do the Beowulf justice. So we're going to put all our resources on the Type S. We're going to see about doing as many stretch goals as possible and fleshing it out as good as we can. And so we'll release the Type S as the crowdfunding campaign in the first week of July. But what we have also, we've talked to Mark, and he has agreed that several of our existing ships, with some minor modifications, would fit quite well in the Traveller universe. So we may be repurposing some of our older ships and doing kits and stats to stat them up for Traveller. It will be for T5 because that's what Mark is working with at the moment, but it should be fairly easy to convert to retroactively to Mongoose, I'd imagine. So we'll also side by side be putting out some deck plans in 2D for people, like in PDFs. We'll take some renders or something to do some deck plans. And so yeah, that's exciting news. I guess if you guys want to comment on that, how you guys feel about that, but it's kind of like the Chimera Sleipnir thing. Originally, I had envisaged releasing them at the same time, but that's a little hard when it takes 10 months to make 2 ships. So, yeah, basically this will also make it so I'd really like to keep Albin on. And if we focus on the Type S, we can get the next Kickstarter out. Sorry, I keep calling it a Kickstarter, but crowdfunding campaign out, and that'll help us. Basically, all those funds will go into the Beowulf, and we won't have as long a turnaround as we usually have. I had envisaged that we'll have a campaign in November, so maybe even October. We'll see. It all depends. I may make it last longer, just because I know Christmas is a bit of a stretch for people. So, yeah. Fuel tankage, yes. Craig paid. That's exactly what we'll need to add in. That's missing. So just areas of the ship. The ones we're primarily looking at converting. The shuttle's probably a no-brainer because there's not much that has to be done with it. And the Chimera, because of its modular nature, if we design some modules that can be used for storing fuel, we could probably quite easily get them in. And then Mark was suggesting we switch out the semiotic standard, which we've used, which is more the Ron Cobb style, to the Traveller Universe style. So that's what we're looking at the moment. And having said that, I'm going to mute my mic. Oh, wait, no. We didn't. I didn't set up Discord.
I started to stream my feed though, so it should be on Discord.
Yeah. I know. I mean, I haven't set up Discord on my desktop yet. So, what I'll do is I'll go to the large camera so I can. Hopefully, you guys aren't seeing any of this. I can go to watch stream. I can make this big, and then we can put this. Oh no, that didn't work.
Okay. Set on.
Yeah. Let's see. There we go, and I can go back here. And yeah, yes. This I was confused. This is not my copy. That's yours. All right. I'm gonna turn off my microphone so you can talk, Alvin. What are you doing?
Well, so I'm doing a bit of things. The things that are supposed to be done are being done. Well, the thing is that I'm looking at a jump drive basically. So not necessarily a specific way. It's kind of difficult to explain, but I'm picking out the base components that are used in a lot of different drives and engines and stuff like that. So we're basically, I making like foots and stuff like that that's going to be used at different machinery. So at this moment, I'm looking at like pipes and different consoles and trying out to print different items and see how the detail picks up. So like this piece here, that's kind of inspired by the original. Well, this is more like inspired by the original consoles that's in the illustrations for Traveler. When you look at different drives or engine parts, I guess. I did a adjustment to this one because I wanted to see how it worked when we incorporated our own details and add a little bit of
Hey, don't.
oh, sorry, emergency stop buttons and stuff like that. And I tried to print it. Turns out that I need to rework the detailing because this is quite a bit too fine, I guess, in comparison to what I expected from the print. I also tried to do some mechanical parts. I don't know if they are visible here. One sec. Yeah. So I had this idea that you would be able to put this console on a arm that you could swivel around. Turns out that this piece here is like minuscule. It's like tinier than a strand, and it looks like something you would print on an SLA instead of what we are using here. So it didn't really work. So I tried to scale it up and stuff like that. But yeah, been doing a lot of different things. This is more like different design elements that I think might be used in the drive jump drive. So there are going to be a few pipes and outlets and stuff like that that we're going to be using in other parts as well, I guess. Hopefully, if they are up to snap.
Well, we shall see about that. If you mute yourself now, I'll take over again, and then we're trying to work out this echo thing because we're both sitting in the same room. So this is what we'd call greebles, as Jay Slattery pointed out in the chat, otherwise also known as nurnies. So it's a collection of parts that we can reuse and slice up, with the main goal of eventually. Let's see, I may have. No, I don't have the image open. I thought I had. We got T5 here. Let's see if we can find. Yeah, we have these power plants and things. So we're sort of like using these designs as. There might be some more further up. I'm not sure. But yeah, basically we're using those as a reference, and then breaking up the pieces into something that's usable. So the Type S in particular is a bit of a unique situation. If we look back at the map here, it has this really awkward layout with its machinery where you've got your jump drive taking up all of these tiles here on opposite sides, and then your power systems up here. Whereas in T5, like the way that the power plants are presented, God, am I going past them or something? Here we go. Here somewhere there. So you have like this is a fission power plant, but a fusion power plant doesn't look too different. You got your maneuver drive, and you got your jump drive. So what we want to do is build something similar to what we see in the jump drive that you see in this image, but the Maya version will then sort of cut up so that it can fit more comfortably inside the ship and make it make sense with some cables and pipes moving into the ship. Especially because we have tried to respect the layout as much as possible, but if we turn off the lights here, the upper deck at the moment in the plans it shows a seat here, and if we look at the plan for the Type S again. On the upper deck here, we have the power here where you've got a seat, and then immediately behind it, you have an airlock. I would not feel comfortable at all sitting in that position. I'd want to at least face my death ahead of time. But so I don't know if maybe we'll just shift it over slightly or have it in the center of the room and leave enough walkway to sort of get through. We'll see how that works out. But the idea is we're going to take up the same amount of space. And here on the main deck, we have made a compromise. If I just switch off the all this is new, by the way. Let's see, if I just switch off the upper deck floor there, we don't actually have anything. You can see all the way down here, but we are actually missing one square here, which has gone into the ship's locker and whatnot. So what we're going to do as a compromise is just make it look like the machinery is going down into the floor, so that potentially another square is taken up in that way. So I mean, we have to compromise with these designs in 3D, and in fact the deck plans that exist are already a compromise. They're not like an exact science when you've got the shape that you have. But yeah, this is what we're thinking. So let me just turn back on the turret there. Again, this is a temporary turret, because we have well, this is one of my older designs. It's a laser turret. The turret ports themselves are going to be cross-compatible with our existing turret, so if you like one of our other designs instead, you'll be able to put it on. I'm just going to move over to this screen the images that I've sort of set up as references for doing the hull plating on the ship. So looking at this really old stuff, I think this is from Mega Traveler or one of the magazines.
Old style,
yeah. This is the closest in shape to the current version that I'm using, but this is more like I would say this is the best evolution of a classic Traveler Type S. You can see the turret has definitely got the mix of missile launcher, laser, and sandcaster. So it has this. The Type S has this sort of combined turret, which has barrels for 3 different solutions, the laser being offensive as well as the missile launcher, and then the sandcaster being defensive. The idea being, in a vacuum, it just creates this spread of chaff, basically, of sand particles that will explode a missile or disperse laser, right? Okay, so yes, John, nice to have you with us, mate. Get some sleep. I know you've had your COVID shot like a good lad, and we'll talk to you in 2 weeks or something. I think you said you weren't able to make next week, so thanks for being with us.
Yeah, I'll be assisting that school again for 1 week.
I see. Yes,
because they need help.
It does sound like you ran out of batteries a little bit, so you go get some rest, mate.
Thank you, and it's been a pleasure. And don't forget, Albin does not need food over the weekend.
No, unfortunately, that's true.
Very good, very good. All right, yeah. So this is where I've drawn the main inspiration from the hull plating. I think it was Jay Slattery, maybe, or who was asking about what all of the bulbs and things were on the hull surfaces. These are the sensors, and I'm hoping Mark will be happy that I've actually gone through and looked at the stats for the Murphy class, which is with all of these sensors. I've read up on the rules to figure out what they're all about for the most part, and understood that there's a certain amount of sensors that are standard on a ship, and then all of these ones with a 1 in parentheses I believe belong on a proper scout ship in the Imperial Navy, and that they're basically usually ripped off for the sort of civilian version, if you will. At least that's my interpretation of things. So I've taken some of the main sensors and added them on, because I think the design is really good in the sense that you get this asymmetry on an otherwise very geometric form. And you can see on the bottom, we've actually started working on the intakes for the fuel, the fuel scoops. So that's what this section is about. This will probably slide down and cover these when it was entering the atmosphere, but yeah, I don't think we'll actually be able to put proper covers in there. But yeah, I like the detail, how it's working out. I hope you guys think it's interesting too. But and then you can also see this design let's see if I switch back. We've got some RCS here, some reaction control thrusters. Even though the Type S uses these grav pads that are vastly higher tech, more Star Wars like, I guess, than conventional engines, you still need a backup system when you're in 0G. If your power systems get knocked out, you still need to be able to maneuver through analog means, and this would be a mechanical solution for that. So I think the Type S should have them still, and so I've left them in, and I've put them in the positions here. By the way, we will have a stretch goal to add back in this top turret. Sorry, not turret, airlock from the crew compartment. So I feel like it's a good thing to be able to add back in. We might add another option for like some alternative placements. So yeah, and then we will have some pads on the bottom as well. As far as the bottom section is concerned, this is the a later Type S. I think I had all the names in my head before, but I really like it. If it was my choice, I'd probably add in these fins. I think they're really cool. But to keep it as close to possible as the arrow shape, I think that could potentially be some kind of stretch goal idea if we want to add the fins back in to change and break up the shape of the hull. But in general, I think we've got some grav pads. They're barely visible here and there, maybe. I'm not sure. It's all kind of a little bit new to me, the underside, and this doesn't quite match up with the style in the black and white drawing either. So I'm trying to find a healthy compromise, and here I just have like a later version. Actually, both of these are later versions of the scout ship, just as sort of an inspiration. So I just gathered these images and stuck them together as sort of an artboard to guide. Altitude thrusters, all right, yes. In any case, yeah, on my older ships, we've called them reaction control thrusters. So, wouldn't altitude thrusters though be more about just maintaining your height at orbit? So, anyway, presumably that wouldn't be as much of an issue with this kind of ship. I think you'd need something fairly powerful. And
Not altitude, attitude.
oh, attitude. Sorry. All right. All right. Yes, all drawings are subject to artist's discretion. Yes, they are. And even from what I've spoken to Mark about this sort of thing, he quite understands that, well, we're talking about a ship design that's been around for hundreds, if not like 1,000 years, and been iterated upon and built in different manufacturing parts of the known worlds of the Empire and beyond, probably. So there are many different iterations. Just the shape that we're going after is the core shape is the T5 version. Even though Mark has this old image of a sort of Murphy here, this is technically not the same design as this one is, which took me a while to realize when I was mapping it out. So this is more of a true sort of arrow shape. So the interpretation we've done has this sharper back. So we do have the thrusters sticking out at the moment, or I guess the grav pads technically. So we will have a couple of different options here, I think, with the actual housing, so that it could be...
Engines are actually removable. You mean so you could pop them out.
Yeah, exactly. Like I was thinking this part here, we could have a couple of different options for the actual cone shape. So if you're not a big fan of the more traditional engine cones because they look a little too like conventional chemical engines, exhaust cones, you could have some alternative options, which would be a great candidate for stretch goals. And speaking of that, that is something that we want to get community feedback on, what you guys would like to see. I think we will probably look into doing as a stretch goal or a part of that a version of the Type S, which is I think it's called the Type J Minor or something like that. Is that right, Zorima?
I believe you're correct.
Yeah. So we'll look into that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Type
J
Seeker. Seeker. There you go. Yeah. All right. It's nice to see we've got some more serious Traveller fans coming in. Just a good sign that there are people interested in this project. So yeah, we will have. I'm very excited to be able to bring some of our ships to the Traveller universe, even if it's only not quite official, but semi-official, if you will. But it's still kind of exciting because we're talking about starting up a new Traveller campaign soon with our group, and it will be nice to have plenty of material to play with. So yeah. All right. Now I'm going to talk a little bit less. So if there are any questions, it all depends how much longer Zoram is going to be with us. I better keep an eye on the chat today.
If you let me jump in for a
yes,
second.
Yeah, go.
First of all, we have been working with some various online people who are YouTubers and webpage guys that for stuff for Traveller, reaching out to them about potentially reviewing the product or getting to try to get feedback. If you people out there, all of you who are your Traveller fans that are fans with us and supporting us, if you can help us with leads to other places where you think that we might want to reach out to, or you think would be interested in maybe helping us out with reviews or giving us honest critiques or giving us feedback to help overall in gaming to get to more members, we'd really like to hear your feedback on that too. That would really help us. I have had some success in talking to some people already, but I wanted to make sure that I reached out a call to you guys to basically give us not just feedback on what you want to see in chips, but give us feedback on where you think we can reach out to get to more people, other than just, maybe this Facebook page or that Facebook page, because we want to try to get to as many people as possible, obviously. And we want to try to get enough feedback to make the best product we can for everybody.
Yeah, exactly. It's about feedback, and it's also about generating buzz, because essentially how are we doing in this first Traveller themed campaign is kind of going to inform my decisions with where we take the Traveller license next. Because if you do want to see other ships, it's important that our first campaign is supported, so that we know this is a viable solution. Now, I have every confidence that this is going to be the case, and we're getting by on the crowdfunding that we've made in the last couple of campaigns. But we really want to get this out to the Traveller community in general, or at least the word out that we're making this. Maybe if people follow along, they'll understand what it's about, and how home 3D printing can make this more affordable as an actual viable option. You won't be paying thousands of dollars to get this on your table. The actual design itself, we haven't set the price for. This is like not the finished product, of course, but the plans to build it yourself, we're probably somewhere in the $30 to $40 range for the base ship, and then we'll probably have a version that includes the stretch goals that is somewhat a higher tier option. Which, considering the fact that it takes 4 months of development to get the core ship out, is on the scale that we normally do our Kickstarters. It's actually quite a good deal.
Yeah, I'm trying to make the light kit fit into a $20 to $30 range to light up the ship and give you an easily installable pre-done kit with no soldering or anything or any wiring you have to do. Just put the wires in and plug in the little lights. So
that's right. And so if you do have a home 3D printer, the filament used for the base ship, you're probably looking at under 2 kilos. So with the light kits, maybe excluding the shipping, we don't know yet, but you're probably looking for the plans, the materials, and the light kits, and you're at around about $100 for it to be on your table. So that's quite affordable, I think, considering the size and detail that we're going to be presenting. All right, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, Soroma. Just add to it.
That's cool. It's relevant to what we were talking about. So, by all means.
Yeah.
The other thing is that I wanted to reach out to everybody and basically say we really appreciate you guys coming by with our weekly things and joining us, and we'd like to get more people in here. If you could let people know that are on the Facebook pages and places you go that are traveler related, that we're out here basically doing the show weekly, every week, so that they can get an update on what's going on, or basically give feedback on ideas for the project and seeing what we've done. That we'd really appreciate that. We like doing the show one way or the other, and we think it's a good way to update our customers because they basically look at it and watch it later. But the more people we can get here, the better that would be for everybody, I'm sure. I really did got to run because I have to go and
Yes.
take my wife to get her first COVID shot. So I'm off to go do that. And I wanted to thank everybody. And I'll see you guys all next week.
All right. Thanks for joining us, Soroma.
Take care.
Yeah, which means it's just me and Albin, and I guess I'll be doing most of the talking because of the echo thing. Oh no, this is not good. Okay. So what are we actually doing today? Well, I have been working on this all week on the top, and we're only going to go for another 25 minutes, so hopefully it's digestible enough. One thing that's been frustrating this week is not having anything on the printer myself, because when I go back and design the top, I have to consider, like, I've done a lot of work at the back of the ship, at the front of the ship, down the bottom, and this is really just going all over the other parts that I've already built and just adding this additional levels of detail to it. So what we printed so far is just the prototype, and right now I really want to get some of the components of the top part, which will just slot down on top of the ship, going essentially, so that we have something presentable. Now there are still a few things to figure out, especially with if I turn off the turret section and turn back on the upper deck floor. So I still need to figure out exactly how this is going to sit in here. I'm not going to connect this with open lock clips because A, there's not much room for the clearance. We want a nice tidy cover. So it will just have these sort of teeth in the bottom, so it'll just sit quite nicely, at least in theory. This all needs testing. I do have this section which is now printable. So I was starting from the back, but the issue with that is that this part from the back, I'd need to reprint this section. I did add some flaps here because that's what's seen in some of these older images. Where did it go? I mean, we've got some flaps here. Probably not necessary when you have GravTech, but hey, maybe if you've lost power and you're trying to glide in to a soft water landing, you may need those control surfaces. Who knows? Let's say it's a redundancy, and it looks better than just having it just flat, right? I did look into making these sort of like separate so they could be moved, but at the end of the day, it was just a bit more trouble than it was worth due to the thinness of the actual. I didn't want to cut into too much of the ceiling here because it's already quite a limited space. I said I would talk less. But yeah, this part's not the most ideal one to be finished with first because I have nothing to plug it into. The parts underneath would not be done. So I am just in the process of breaking this up in sections, and the most logical place to start is actually here towards the front. So the last piece we have here is in the cockpit. That will print as is. I'm not finished with all the detailing yet. As you can see, this is quite simple, and I'll need to fine tune what's going to be printable there. This will be something that if you really don't like the blemish, you can easily just, get a pair of pliers and take it off again. Good morning, Corsair, 1961. Afternoon being the case here in Sweden, morning in the UK, the US, sorry. let's see. Yeah, it's about 3:40 p.m. at the moment. So Friday afternoon, we're gonna go for a couple more hours and then go for a beer. Well, to the fridge where the beer is. In any case, so yeah, essentially we need to have this piece here, and I'm actually finding that I think you can see, yeah, on the left hand side, if we're looking towards the front of the ship, you can see that the rooms up the front have this higher slant there, and that's because I wanted to leave enough room when we were putting them in to make sure that the hole could be there, and then realize that the hole would be really, really thick. So we actually have quite a bit of space that we've gotten back, and I'll be moving these walls forward to actually, let's see, I've got to make sure I'm not picking up anything unwanted there. So that the angle will probably be something more like this. I'll need to test with the roof, but this room at the back, we've actually got now full ceiling back. In fact, I've had to sort of create this wedge right there. This part is actually about just being able to get this empty section. It's not actually connected yet. So this will have a ceiling, and in theory, above here we have a combination of avionics and also more fuel storage hidden inside the hole. But because this is a lid, we're not actually going to put any real detail underneath there. There's no point to us putting any lighting in this hole, because when you play this section, you're going to have the ceiling off, or you won't be able to see it. There's no windows or anything. If we put any lighting in, it might be here in the cockpit to get either some light in the ceiling here, or if we're very daring, try to figure something out with the control panels. So yeah, we'll see. So still kind of experimental at this stage. I want to have the ship prototyped, printed, and sent off to the UK for painting by the end of April latest. Earlier if possible. I mean, it's getting close to April already, which is kind of scary. But basically, we have 3 months until launch. 3 months and 1 week, basically. So I talked to MMF yesterday. I talked to their CEO, and we're partnering up with them on this campaign, and we're going to essentially have a campaign page where you can join in and reserve basically the crowdfunding page for when we go live, something like 6 weeks ahead of time. We're really trying to get on top of things. As a part of that, we'll be putting out this. So you'll be able to print the cockpit and also this miniature of the relaxed traveler and seat in the cockpit configuration as a sort of like test out our prints, see what quality they are, but also it'll be a case of if you register on that pre-page, you'll get 5% off. And if you print this and take a photo of it, you'll get 10% off. So that's one thing we'll be doing, and you'll be able to get your hands on this like a lot earlier, like 6 weeks earlier than the rest of it. Yeah, we have resin printed this as well, and it came out so nice. Just need to refine where the supports are. But yeah, as that'll be a part of building up some hype, because ideally this would also be a good time to get non-Traveler fans into Traveler, right? So maybe we can give it a bit more exposure. So that's the idea, and then we're going to try and figure out if there's a way where we can give even more of a percentage off to our existing backers. So if you backed us before, maybe we can figure out another 5 or 10% on top of that. So I don't know yet what the details will be. We're working with My Mini Factory. That's kind of where we're at the moment, and I think that will be a good sort of looks even better with the lighting on. A good sort of like starting point for people to play around and see what we've got to offer. And yeah, so basically I'm gonna ditch this open lock clip, I think, because I'm thinking about the future. And at the moment, I haven't actually test printed this yet. It just sort of rests on top of the section below it, right? Um, and this is more detail than I need to have, but the idea is if you really wanted to be clever, you could maybe put some kind of really small camera through the cockpit door and be able to look into the cockpit and see the ceiling as well, or the lighting. How long is the Scout going to be? The Scout is 2 feet approximately. It's 25 inches. So yeah, that's what 24 inches is 2 feet, so 2'1", or approximately, doing some math, 62.5 centimeters. Yep. I grew up in Australia, which is metric, but they converted to metric from imperial measurements maybe 20 years before I was born. And to communicate with my grandfather, I needed to know both, because we still commonly say our height in imperial, like I'm 5'10", but weights and speeds, that's all in kilometers and kilos and the metric system. For some reason, inches and feet fairly easy to keep a track of. When you get into pounds, ounces, yeah. Anyway, or even miles and feet, like, what is it, 5,000 something feet to the mile? It's not, it doesn't round up very well. In any case, shortcomings of the imperial system aside, the idea is you're going to have essentially this block here will be connected to this block, is the idea, and then it'll sit in here. What I don't know is if I might actually move this piece, remove this piece, sorry, so that this piece of the hole is actually integrated with this little wedge here, just so that you set this down there. I think that'll make more sense. And all of this is going to have to be reprinted anyway before it gets into painting. Brian, who painted our Sleipnir, has agreed to do the Type S. He said, when given the choice between the Beowulf and the Type S, he's like, give me the Type S, give me the Type S. And now it's just the Type S, so we hopefully will have enough time for that. But yeah, we want to leave this piece so that you can still slot in the airlock if we have the alternative piece, right? So the idea would be that you print out an alternative version of this. Ooh, but these control panels. Okay. Because we have to print this. Right now, this is designed to print out, if you imagine, let's see. It's really not rotating right. So that's 90 degrees. So if you imagine that the invisible plane here, if I turn on the grid, is your build plate, this is the way that this piece would print out, right? So we have minimal overhangs, you won't need any supports. However, some of these computer terminals need to end around here. So we're either going to have machinery that carries it on into the wall, or keep this separate. But if we do put an airlock here, this clip hole is going to be an issue, right? Because we won't have enough room to have an open lock clip and have the iris. They're not going to be functioning irises, but, you know, something to slot in. What do you mean, no further back? Tab into a slot. I mean, we could tab into a slot, but I'd rather like keep it as a single piece, because it should still be like, what's this? It's going to be 5 inches wide. That should at least diagonally fit even onto SLA prints, print beds. And yeah, the because you may want to do these control panels up nice. There are a couple of options here. One option is that we keep this as it is as a separate piece, and then the potential alternative airlock we actually put here in the hallway. That's another option. Too much deviation from the original. I mean, which original are we talking about? There's so many different Type S's. This version here has an airlock there above the cockpit. This version has one underneath the cockpit, or a bit further back. This one has one above the cockpit, and this one has one just in front of the turret. So there are so many underneath the cargo bay. Yeah, well, I mean, at the moment, the back of the ship looks like so. So I'm going to turn off the grid again to save some memory. So we have an airlock there. We have a ramp here. So that's your cargo bay. This is all stuff we've discussed with Mark II. So, okay, I guess if there's no real consensus, we can potentially have a few versions where the airlocks are in a few different places. So maybe I will keep this as a separate piece. And then in the stretch goal, we make the airlock there, because it probably makes more sense visually as well. Maybe. We'll see. Since there are so many variants, put it where it will work best for printing. Yeah. Alright, so let's leave this as it is. That way I don't have to do any more work on it. It should be printable. And that means I can put it on the test bed tonight, and I won't feel as guilty about leaving the printer not doing very much all weekend. So yeah, well, this next section then needs to match up to that, and then fit into this recess. But to fit into the recess, we do need this wall in place, which is what I was working on. So I'm just gonna... Oh god, why does that not match? Oh, that's disheartening. Does it match everywhere else? That looks like it matches all the way up to there. That matches. Then on the other side, is this not matching? No, that lines up. So it looks like it's just the top plate here somehow. I mean, this is such a minor detail, it's not gonna make too much of a difference, but the question is, which version of this should it actually be? We may have to look at this from the side. Let's see. And get the ceiling back into place. Okay, which side looks like... Okay, it's on both sides. Excellent. Okay, in theory, we can create a line here that would, in theory, start there. And that's an inch, that's an inch. All of these squares on the grid, the grey squares, are inches. So if we bring this all the way back down to here, where it should have started, on top of the cockpit. Oh, shit. Damn, I was meant to make a polygon. I didn't complete it. I only did 2 edges. So there. And there. And then if we just make some kind of... It doesn't really matter if we connect it to like there. So we made this polygon. But that should teach us... Let's see, where is the mistake? The mistake is... Alright. Oh god, now it's... Okay, we need to move the ceiling again. I mean, it's wrong there as well, but... Let's move this up higher. So we can see these 2 issues and see which side is right and which side is wrong. And it looks like the right side here, I mean left as we're looking at right now, is slightly wrong right there. Normally this would bother me, but we've come too far. I would have to redo the whole piece. and it's such a minor detail. Like, I don't even know what the distance is there. Let's just, for shits and giggles, let's see what the... I feel like I'm spending so much time rambling these days instead of actually working, explaining what I'm thinking of. Measure tools, distance tool there, and we're going to measure the distance between point A and point B. It's so small it didn't actually acknowledge. There we go. What is it? Where is it? Or did it not complete? I don't think it completed. Okay, so we've got to redo this. Let's delete that. One there, and then one there. So that's 0.04 millimeters. So not really something that's going to be something that the human eye picks up as a deficiency, right? So I think we'll be fine if we just move these two vertex points down to here. Oh, that's interesting. There was some hidden geometry in there. That's not disconcerting. That's not good. Let's merge these. Is that still happening? If I move this down? No? Okay, it's merged. Alright, so if we merge this one... Oh, we have a visitor.
Oh, live stream.
A live stream. Oh, Hannes is here. Hannes does the films. He's awesome. He also works for Vintergatan, which is an awesome channel if you want to check that out. He does all the editing. And is a general emotional support to Martin. Alright, why does that look so ugly? Well, it's the normals, obviously, but something wacky's going on there. Okay. They've been remerged. That looks more like what it should look like now. Okay, so they're at least on an even playing field now. So we can delete our little helper if we know that we need... Oh, actually, because this one was wrong too. So let's... I don't know how it got this way. So that's wrong. That's still wrong. All the way down to there. Okay. Fun stuff. Alright. So we're going to spend the rest of this session just fixing my errors. Isn't that fun, fellas and ladies? A small ship... Okay, let's see. We've got some questions. Maybe we can look at that. Small ship with a few crew, single crew member. You don't need an airlock if you're the only one on board, or you just depressurize a small room which doubles as an airlock. I mean, that's the vehicle bay. There's one on the other side. There is one at the back of the ship. And I guess if your ship's breaking apart, you have other issues. You don't need an actual airlock because one has been made for you. I might just turn off the miniatures because they're causing this lag with the connections. One trick that we can do here, it's a bit of an ugly one. We can just move these vertexes back to these points. And then if we wanted to recreate them, which we actually don't because these are going to be joined together, we would just create a new edge loop, or not a loop, but a new edge there to make up for it. We don't actually have to do that right now. I mean, I guess this demonstrates how tedious this could be at times. But at an airlock, it's Traveller. You can roll it however you like. Yes, of course. Like I said, a stretch goal. Let's leave the choice up to people actually printing the models. And I mean, you're going to have even more options with like something like the Beowulf. But this model in particular, I think, this screams classic Traveller, right? This is like the iconic Traveller ship. The Beowulf certainly is, but this wedge shape, is certainly like what many consider to be, you know, the hallmark of the Traveller universe, the Type S Scout, right? It's going to be about 2 kilos, so it's quite portable. It's a good size, easy to lift. Like, this is... I'm holding this... I'm going to move to the other camera. I'm holding this with one hand, right? Let's see. So, it's quite solid. As far as the shapes are concerned, this is a really good shape for the ship. And the size isn't so big that it would become an issue trying to store it. You know, it's reasonably portable, and I think a really nice model to just paint up. And, like, you know, you may eventually decide that, you know, the Beowulf is a better player ship because it's a bit larger. You know, you can do a lot more customization with it. But, you know, the Type S is ubiquitous in the Traveller universe. They're seen everywhere, so you'll certainly be able to use them. Alright, I feel like I've rambled on long enough. It's now 4:01 p.m. here, which is the time we usually stop the stream, so I'm going to just see if you guys want to ask a question or two. Alright, can you hold the Scout next to the Beta for a size comparison? Yes. Actually, I can just move the camera. Let's see. Because they are next to each other. So, let's see. Alvin?
Yes.
Can you help me just hold the Scout ship up next to the other Scout ship? No, this one.
This one?
Yeah. So they are about the same size in length. My Scout ship Beta is slightly longer, but it's mostly the antenna. If you actually look at the hull, they're approximately the same length. So, yeah, there you go. Alright, any more questions before we leave it? Alright, no worries, Corsair. Okay, so if there's no more questions, we'll leave it for this week. Thanks for joining us. And I hope you guys have a great weekend and a great week after them. We'll be back next Friday at the same time. I don't know if we're maybe going on to daylight savings this weekend. It should be coming up soon. But, you know, we'll let you know if it's back to 9 a.m. US time instead. And we'll stick this stream up on YouTube as well, so you guys can catch it afterwards. We are kind of considering if we're just going to switch over to YouTube streaming or not. Haven't decided yet, but for the meantime, we're going to stick with Twitch. Alright guys, thanks for joining us, and we'll see you guys next week. Bye guys. Oh, we haven't stopped yet. I pressed the wrong button. Oh no. Stop. Stop. Bye guys.